I am slightly regretting this choice of costume right now. What were we thinking? Right, let's get going. So community is one of the most overused words in marketing right now. If someone started a drinking game every time that it was mentioned at an event like this, there is no way I would make it to lunch. So our promise to you is that this won't be another theory-heavy keynote on why community matters. Our session is about giving you a practical diagnostic tool that you can take back to your team and use the next time that you're designing a brand experience. So, by the end of our time together, you will know 3 things: where your brand sits in our community health check, where your biggest connection leak is, and one practical thing that you can do next. But before we start, I need you all to have a think. Yes, it's going to be interactive, so get ready. I'd like you to think of one brand that you will use for today's diagnosis. So it could be your own organization, it could be one of your clients if you're an agency, or it could even be your own personal brand. But there is only one rule. Please make it a real-life example so that you can get the most out of today's diagnosis. So has everyone got one? Okay, amazing. Hold it in, lock it in, because you're going to need it for today's checkup.
Okay, so this year's theme is the human touch. So we couldn't start today's session without a small ritual, something a little bit human. Now we're going to collectively ground ourselves into the present moment by taking a few deep breaths together. Creating moments where you can remember what presence feels like is something that I build into my community events. So I'd like to ask you to please relax your hands, shake off any energy that was unwanted when you came into the room, release the tension in your jaw, drop your shoulders, and if you feel comfortable, please feel free to close your eyes, or you can softly drop your gaze to the floor. We are going to breathe in through our nose for 3, we'll hold our breath for 3, and then we'll breathe out through our mouth for 5. So breathe in for 3, 2, 1. Hold for 3, 2, 1. And out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in for 3. Hold for 3, 2, 1. And out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last one. Breathe in through your nose for 3. Hold for 3. And out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so hopefully you've now landed in the room, and in your mind you've got your example for your diagnosis. It's time to officially open the Connection Clinic. Your doctors will see you now.
Okay, so by a show of hands, how many of you would say that community is a priority for your brand or the brands that you work with? Okay, so over half?
Yeah.
Maybe more? And how many of you would say you have a clear strategy for building it? Okay, hardly anyone. Good, you're in the right place. Okay, and if that brand disappeared tomorrow, would its customers genuinely miss it? Okay. That's the difference between an audience and a community. An audience notices, a community feels the loss. Over the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to help you close that gap.
Okay, my name is Nabila Richardson. I am the founder of Curious and Creative, a marketing consultancy for experience-led brands across luxury, travel, hospitality, and lifestyle. I help brands who are at an inflection point and need to sharpen their strategy, their storytelling, and their experiences. Now, I have an obsession, guys. It's with how humans connect. It's why I love building audience-first strategies for my clients, but also why last year I founded Unplugged Social Club, which is an offline-first community designed to help people reclaim their attention through adventures. Now, our mission is simple. It's to create tech-free experiences for people to step away from the noise of the online world, slow down, and connect through in-person, intentional activities. It's not just about finding community. For us, it's about finding a way to feel human again.
Awesome. And I am Eshte. I'm the CEO of Crew Live, and we're part of the Brand Partnership Group. As a brand experience agency, we're in the business of feelings. So we design experiences that move people and performance for the likes of Crunchyroll, Visa, and Suzuki, to name a few. Our crew community is made up of over 3,500 ambassadors and creators, and we also have a further 7,500 on our waiting list just to join. Alongside that, I co-founded the Networking Collective, which is a global walking group for marketers. What started as one walk between two people turned into 12 locations. That's across the UK and France, and we're going to be opening in the US as well soon. So somewhere along the way, it stopped being our event and became a social ritual for our industry. And for today only, God knows why we've done this, I am also Dr. Benham, your community health check practitioner, ready to diagnose your biggest connection leaks. The full panto has come out in me now. This is happening. Dr. Richardson, a specialist connection consultant. Would you take us through a moment of reflection?
Absolutely. As a connection consultant, I always first prescribe a moment to reflect. So I want you to now think of one example. This is not the brand that you're going to diagnose today, but you as a consumer. What brand or community are you a part of? What is it that they do that makes you feel most connected? Okay, great. Keep that in mind. Whatever you've just thought about is exactly what we're going to help you measure today. Now, the Connection Health Check is a streamlined version of the diagnostic tools that SJ and I use with our clients. With the help of our friends from Cypher, we've built a tool specifically for today's sessions so that you can experience the methodology in just minutes, rather than a full strategic engagement that we would run with brands over weeks.
Okay, it is ready for your community health check. So if you could all grab your phones and scan the QR code on the screen, I'll get out of the way, or on your wristbands if you got them on the way in. By the end of this checkup, there are only 12 questions, but you're going to instantly receive 3 things. Your community position on the map, your biggest connection leak, and 1 practical recommendation. Now, the good news is, unlike the NHS, there is no waiting list, and you'll receive your diagnosis within 3 minutes.
Oh, sorry, that's my fault.
Did you sit on it?
I sat on it, yeah. We'll go back to go forwards. There we go.
Try not to overthink them, just go with your first instincts. There are no right or wrong answers. What's important is that we know where we are today so that we can work out where to focus next. How are we all doing? A little bit longer? For those who are nearing the end of the 12 questions, just keep your results open on the page so that you have them ready when we go through the diagnosis. If anyone came in now, it would look like we were really bloody boring. Everyone on their phones. What do we think? A few more moments? Are we nearly done? you're done. Amazing.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So hopefully now you should all be seeing the results of your connection health check. And the first thing that is going to come up is where you've landed in one of 4 positions on the connection map that you can see on the screens now. Now, the map is not a grid of options. It is a clear journey of travel with 4 positions. And it's worth me saying that no brand ever starts in connected. So you move through this journey as your brand grows and scales. Now, the map, it has 2 axes. Vertically, we have the depth of connection, deep to shallow. And horizontally, we have brand centrality. So is the brand at the center, or is the community at the center? First, in the bottom left, is broadcasting. By a show of hands, who ended up in this position? Okay, a couple. So if your brand is here, it's shallow connection with the brand at the center. This means that people are consuming what you make. You have visibility, you have reach, but you do not have connection. Now, most brands, they start in broadcasting, and honestly, they end up living here because it's easy entry, but you've got low emotional recall. Now, in the bottom right, we have gathering. Put your hands up if you were in gathering. Okay, nice. A few more. So this is shallow connection with a shift towards the community at the center. If your brand has ended up in this position, you're bringing people together around a shared identity. But the driving force behind the community still remains your brand. They're showing up for your brand. You're putting on events. It might be warm, good attendance, but the community's not continuing afterwards. So you could think of this as presence without belonging. Then we move up into the top left, which is championing. Put your hands up if you landed here. Nice. Okay, also a couple, great. Now, this is deep connection with the brand at the center. Now, this is a really interesting position to have landed in. Your brand has a strong emotional connection. There's high advocacy. But the risk here is dependence. If your brand was to step away, the community would disperse because you're still leading the community rather than co-creating with them. Okay, and then we move into connected in the top right. Who ended up in connected? 1. Lovely. Well done, Al. There's no right or wrong positions, to be fair. It's all a journey. But if you ended in this position, it means that your brand is no longer the content that simply feeds the community. You've become the context in which the community is participating. And this means that your community is generating its own momentum, its own identity, its own value. They're showing up through your brand, but they're staying now for each other. SJ, can you take us through the connection leaks?
Yes, I will. Okay, so what is interesting is that 2 brands can sit in the same position on the map, but then need to do 2 completely different things next. So your biggest opportunity is going to fall within 3 areas. You have impact, influence, and belonging. And the goal isn't to be really good at one of those things, it's to strengthen all 3. So, looking at your results, or if you can remember, because they do disappear when you close the phone, put your hands up if your biggest leak was impact. Okay, nice. So, people might notice your brand, they come to your events and enjoy them, but they might not necessarily leave unchanged by the... I've just realized, having said this directly to you, it feels a little bit public to me. I'm sure you're doing some of the things really well. But the emotional impact isn't quite strong enough, perhaps, to create those lasting memories. I guess it's the difference between watching a really good film and then watching one that you can't stop talking about on the way home. So before you ask, what do we want people to know, start by asking, what do we want people to feel? Because when they feel something, they remember it. Okay, and put your hands up if your biggest leak was influence. Nice. So people enjoy the experience while they're there, but the momentum fades afterwards. The conversations stop, the community relies on your team to keep the conversations going and to keep things moving. So your challenge isn't about creating better moments, it's about creating reasons to come back, to continue the conversation long after the event has finished. So finally, put your hands up if your biggest leak is belonging. Okay, nice. So people like your brand, but they don't necessarily feel part of something bigger. They're coming because of your brand, but not necessarily because of each other. So your opportunity is to create moments where strangers can really connect. to help people leave knowing someone that they didn't know before.
Now, some of you might be like, I didn't get a connection leak. And that will be because you've scored strong across all 3 pillars of connection. So you'll be seeing a strength, something for you to lean into, and then a forward move about how you can protect that culture and continue to gain momentum as you grow your community.
Okay. So if we had to summarize, it would be a reminder that impact creates memories, influence creates momentum, and belonging creates loyalty.
Okay, true to the name of today's session, it is the Connection Clinic. We would love for you to have a connection moment of your own. So we're going to ask you to turn to the person next to you and introduce yourself, share where you've landed on the community map, and then also what your biggest leak was, or strength. And for those of you that aren't sat next to someone, please feel free to get up and meet a neighbor, because we're going to do another connection moment as well later on. We'll give you a few moments now.
Okay. Go.
Yeah, of course. It's good. Timing's good. You want to move?
Should we take our coats off so we've got some pictures without?
Yeah, shall we? Maybe just hang it up over there.
We're okay.
With these two. Thank you.
That now?
Yeah. Okay, if we can ask you to wrap up your connection moment.
Oh, I didn't want to break that up. That was so lovely to see you talking to everyone. Right, so if awareness is what gets people through the door, belonging is what is going to bring them back. So how do the best brands actually design for that? Let's have a look at 4 real-life case notes. So design for presence. This is all about memories over media. One of the best examples I have of this isn't from marketing at all, it's actually from sport. If you've ever watched the Masters, look behind the golfers. You won't see thousands of people all holding their phones up in the air because they're banned. Instead, people are watching, they're listening, they're holding their breath, they're experiencing the moment together. Sport does have this incredible ability to bring everybody together and to create that moment of presence and belonging, to create collective awe. Those moments where thousands of complete strangers experience the exact same emotion at the same time. And if you're not a golf fan, I'm sure you've experienced that collective awe, maybe at a gig or a festival or something similar. I think the first time that I experienced it, rather embarrassingly, I was at oh my God, literally Westlife. I was going to say Westfield, just being a retail one. It was not at Westfield, no. It was Westlife, and it was at the Belfast Arena. Yeah, oh, first time round, not second time round, because they're back, aren't they, doing a tour. But I will never forget, hands up in the air, flying without wings. It was a memory that was just so gorgeous. So that's the collective awe. That's what it's all about. So in a world where we are constantly expected to document, to post, and to perform, presence has become the new luxury. And I think we're starting to see brands recognize that too. So if we take Pinterest at Coachella, which many of you may have heard about, at first glance, it feels completely counterintuitive to have a digital platform asking people to put their phones away. But Pinterest believe the best thing you can find online is a reason to go offline. The platform is there to inspire the next thing to do, not to become the thing you spend all your time doing. So they've designed an experience where people had to be fully present for it, and it was called Joyride. So as you move through the space, you met new people through analog-type activities, and it was designed so you could spark conversations with everyone else enjoying the experience. So you collected stickers, you made charm bracelets, you learned origami, but one of my absolute favorite details was this little zine that you collected. So as you went around the space, you filled it with notes, printed photos, reminders to yourself. And before you left, you posted it. And a week later, it returned home. So you then had this unboxing moment, which extended the experience long after the festival had ended. What Sean and the team at Pinterest had done is they'd created a future memory. So very few brands, I found, will actually think about how they want a memory to be thought about and revisited a week later. And ironically, by encouraging people to put their phones away, they actually generated more conversation and buzz and hype online than ever, because the experience itself became the social currency. So finally, to wrap up this section, we are also seeing a similar shift from TikTok. So at some of their creator events, they've introduced phone-free, unplugged spaces. They recognize that one of the most valuable things that you can give people at their events when they're living in a world where they're constantly having to film and post and perform is a separate space to completely decompress and to be present. So they have an unplugged area. It's to stop worrying about being camera ready and to be fully present. So before your next experience, I guess it's about asking yourself, are we designing something worth remembering or just something worth posting?
Okay, the next case note is that the brand's job is to hold the container and not fill it. Now, the data on this is really clear. Consumers, they want brands to facilitate connections between people, but they reject those spaces where the brand becomes too present, too controlling, or too commercial. Now, the brands that are most welcomed, they're now showing up as enablers of community, not simply performing or borrowing it. And that's a real tension. The brands that are resolving this tension and building community well, they are no longer hosting as performers, they're hosting as curators. They don't feel the need to fill the space with everything they want to say, and instead, they're designing the conditions for their community to fill it instead. So the question is, what can your brand provide that creates the conditions for connection to form without needing to be at the center of it? And the answer is usually a combination of three designable elements. The first is your why, your gathering reason. So what brings these people together that is bigger than your product? The second is the when, a recurring rhythm. So not a campaign moment, but a ritual that your community can come to rely on. And lastly, the who, your shared code, a signal that says this is for people just like you. Oh. And now at Unplugged Social Club, I host Slow Sundays. It's a no-agenda, phone-free beach picnic with volleyball. Our why is that we believe Sundays are not for productivity. They're for rest and they're for play. Our when is the last Sunday of every single month. And our who is a space for people who want to switch off, slow down, and not perform. Now, I don't program Slow Sundays, I simply hold it and host it. The conversations, the friendships I've seen blossom, and the memories and the moments that people remember are all because of a container that's been designed, not because of anything that I lead on the day. And so, the question is, before you ask what you should say to your community, ask what your brand should hold for them. What do they need? Because the container is the strategy.
Nice. So this one is about communities knowing the difference between a brand who's there to contribute and a brand who's there to consume. I think that Jolion from OK Cool put it absolutely brilliantly. The best brands turn up when there's no camera. You don't get to parachute into a community, borrow the best bits that make you look really interesting, and then disappear when the trend cools off. So these next couple of examples you might be familiar with, but I think they really demonstrate the importance of understanding your community. So when Nike showed up at Parkrun earlier this year, many runners felt that they had completely misunderstood what made that community so special. Did everyone see this? Yeah, a few nods. So Parkrun, it's not all about performance. It's actually about inclusion, and it's about turning up exactly as you are. It's about cheering the last runner across the finish line just as loudly as the first. And actually, Parkrun, I don't know how many do Parkrun? Amazing. They have a tail runner, don't they, at the end? So you're never actually the last one to finish and cross the line. And that's the spirit of Parkrun. So you can see how this may have touched a few nerves. It did have a little ripple effect. But now compare that with how Nike showed up for the London Marathon, and the energy and spirit around it was completely different. They lifted spirits, they had personalized messaging, they had signs that spectators could make and then take with them. They had surprise and delight moments like this barge that went under Tower Bridge. At one point, I actually thought this was AI, but it happened. It did actually exist. So they lifted the runners' spirits and they supported volunteers and all the supporters as well. So the response couldn't have been more different. So I guess before your brand enters any existing community, these are things that I suggest you think about. So how are we giving back to the community? How are we helping it thrive rather than exploiting it? And are we here for the long haul? Or is it just until the trend cools off?
Okay. So the last condition for building community is that belonging requires edges. Now, not everyone should belong to your community, and not everybody needs to. A community requires a shared identity, and a shared identity, well, it has edges. Now, if your potential audience is going to be everyone, as the saying goes, you'll end up resonating with no one. So the starting question isn't, who do we want to reach? Instead, it should be, what are we willing not to be? Most brands, they avoid this question and they play it safe. They focus on breadth because breadth feels less risky. But this is one of the most common reasons that brand communities feel too generic to build genuine belonging, because they're trying to appeal to everyone. Now take Thursday, the dating app that launched with one rule. They're closed for 6 days and they're only open for one. The founders had a belief that dating apps had made dating boring, and that real connection best happened off-screen. And so they built a product that made this belief structural. And I love where Thursday took it next. As they scaled, they could have softened those edges, but instead they decided to sharpen them. And today, Thursday hosts real-life singles events every single week in over 180 cities. And just last week, they've now announced a partnership with a group travel company to bring their single community together on trips around the world through their shared passion. And this is principle in action. Their edges were not a one-time positioning choice. They've become a design discipline. And their audience isn't just dating app users. It's people who share a specific belief around how connection should happen. So ask yourself, what does your brand believe that some people will disagree with? We'd love for you to just chat to your neighbor about this for just a quick minute and see what you share. So we'll give you a quick moment to connect again.
It's a hard one, isn't it? It is a hard one. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so maybe some of you had an answer for this off the bat. Maybe some of you realized it's something you need to dig into a little deeper. Because the answer requires two things: restraint and clarity. Now, restraint is what you won't do. Clarity is what you will do. And that's where you find your community edge. Because going deep on a narrow audience beats trying to be relevant to everyone, every single time. Okay, so we've shared our 4 principles for building intentional community. What do you do with that now? This is where we want to introduce the connected brief. It's a guide that I use with my clients when I'm designing community moments, and it's just 4 questions. And we'd like to leave you here today thinking about the first question. Because if you get this one right, everything else will follow. Who is your 1%? Now, the 1% is the person that you're designing for, that your brand exists to help feel most known. Just one person that if they were to walk into this room would feel like everything has been designed for them. Because when you design for them, everyone else will start to follow. So this is the question that we'd like you to leave here today thinking about as you mull it over on your train ride home, as wondering whether England's going to bring home the game this Saturday, or as you go to your team meeting on Monday morning. Who is your brand's 1%? And if you do get stuck, you can refer back to your connection health check weakest pillar, because that will point you in the direction of the people you're not reaching. And this person usually sits in here.
Awesome. So we've had about 40 minutes or so to talk to you about connection. But if we only had 4 seconds, this is what we'd want you to know. Connection is the result of intentional design.
Okay, that means we're not going to leave you here empty-handed today. We want to give you all the tools to go and build community intentionally. So we've designed a Connection Clinic toolkit, which is built around the principles that we base today's session on. You can scan the QR code now to access the Connection Toolkit, all for free. You'll have 3 things that you'll find in there. So the full Connection Leak Index, the community map to find out where your position is, and the 4 positions explained along with the move forward. And lastly, the connected brief that has the 4 questions so that you can go ahead and build your own community moments. And one more thing, SJ and I, we love meeting new people. We love connecting. It's why we both started communities. So we'd love to connect with each and every single one of you. So please, if you'd like to connect with us on LinkedIn, you can scan the QR codes now. Feel free to ask us any questions, share some thoughts, ideas. Maybe you even want to challenge what we've shared here today. We're open to it all, but we would just love to keep the conversation going. And lastly, that leaves me to say thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for being present with us.
You have now been discharged. Thank you.